Hey, everybody, welcome to the Dream Big podcast. And I always have fun doing this thing, but I have a lot more fun when it's a really good friend. And Stephen Curtis Chapman, welcome, my friend. I'm so glad you're on the podcast with us today.
Oh, I am so glad and honored that you would ask me, my friend. And I mean that when I say my friend. You are a true brother and friend. We have laughed together. We have cried together, and it's been a blessing to get to journey with you, and so honored to get to be a part of your podcast.
I've seen you in so many different contexts, husband, dad, performer. We were over a border in another country, and you realized you didn't have your passport to get back. And I saw you in that moment of like, oh, really? And so I think people that know one side of you is the encourager, the fun guy, but I've experienced you as a guy that's really in touch with his feelings and emotions and humanity. Tell us about like the Stephen Curtis Chapman that people know your music and have identified with you, but what's it feel like to be you? Like right now, a guy just turned 60. I got you by a couple of years. And
I know.
Like, what's it feel like to be you right now?
I'm chasing you. You know, it's an interesting thing, how it is with people, and I know you well enough as well to know that the Bob Goff, that people read about and know from the books, the Stephen Curtis Chapman that people know from the music. The truth is, if you listen or read, I don't even know that you have to read between the lines. If you just read really what is there and listen to what is there, I think one of the things that both of us guys have, by God's grace, been blessed with people connecting with what we do is there is an honesty and a vulnerability in what we want to do. The challenge is that people hear and read and listen to music and hear it through a filter of, I'll give you an example. My song, I Will Be Here, that I wrote for my wife years ago. People hear that song, and I've heard people so many times say, gosh, if I could just have a marriage like you and Mary Beth have. And so often I want to go listen to that song and just imagine what I'm really saying there. I will be here when you need to speak your mind. Now, I said that in a nice way, but sometimes when Mary Beth needs to speak her mind, it's with passion. Or when you feel like being quiet, well, that drives me crazy because I'm going, well, what are you thinking? What's going on? What do you think? When the laughter turns to crying, through the winning, losing, and trying, I will be here. So the truth is, if you listen through the songs, the real guy, the tears. In fact, there's a lyric in my new record, and I'll answer the question maybe like this. There's a lyric on the title song, Still, which is a song, and this whole album is really me amazed myself at the fact that I still am as compelled and passionate and desiring to encourage people to sing songs about God's faithfulness, God's goodness, even after all the mountains and the valleys and everything in between. I'm still very, very compelled to do that because God is still faithful and still good. And I still believe that after all these years. But there's a lyric that says, I have wrestled and I have rested and I have trusted and I've tested God's patience like a foolish man. But when I surrender once again, I come like a little child, reaching up my hands. He lifts me every time and tells me he loves me still. And so that really, I think, says as much as anything about where I am today. At any moment through the day, I will be resting in God's goodness and faithfulness, and then I'll be wrestling with it, and I'll be troubled, and I'll be stirred up. God, is this going to work out? What's going to happen with my kids, with my grandkids, with my new music? And then I'll be trusting God, and then I'll be testing his patience, and I'll be going, but God, I don't know. Maybe I need to take this one over, or maybe I got this one, So I think that's probably the journey of all of us, at some
Yeah.
level. And maybe that's why people have connected with my music over the years. Cause I just, again, like yourself, you've been an example for me and for so many. Just if we share honestly, I think the world has never been more desperate for people of faith who will say, you know what, I'm still wrestling my way through this. I don't have it all figured out. I don't have it all together. Clearly, none of the writers of scripture had it all together. Famously, they didn't have it all together. And there's so much hope in that, I think, for us, isn't there? That God, even with the messes that we are in works in progress, God still is faithful and he's still good in all of that. So
it's usually not the smartest person that people are looking for. They want to find the safest person. And I imagine every generation has had its challenges, but I recognize you as a really safe voice and a trustworthy voice, not because you got it all figured out, but because you admit that you don't. Yet you can say, I'm not throwing the entire sock drawer on the floor. There's a couple things, even in the difficult life circumstances, that I'm holding to be true. And the rest, man, I just don't know. I love, Mark 9, like I believe, just help my disbelief, because I'm holding both of those at the same time. I'm holding some things I really believe to be true. And there's some stuff that I am just scratching my head about that. And I'm not going to pretend I got it figured out. And I think people listening, if you can just be a safe person in the middle of that, man, there's a role to be played. I'm all for smart people. I'm even a bigger fan of safe people. And safe, smart people are really great to have around. Find somebody who has some experience, not just somebody who's got an opinion, because opinions are like toilet seats. Everybody's got a couple. But to just say, what is your experience that makes sense? I've gone across the ocean a couple of times, and we're fixing to do it again. And so there's a guy that was saying, you need to bring this with you and make sure you get one of these and 3 of these and steer this course. And he had all these details. And I said, oh, are you a sailor? He said, no, I've never left Ohio. So he had a ton of opinions. He just didn't have a ton of experience. And so what I find myself doing, even in our conversations, I can remember some that just in a friendship where you can just go right to the heart of things, you welcome that because you're a safe guy. I remember thinking about what my experience was, and there's sometimes I don't have an experience that parallels that. All I have is caring and empathy. You show up with what you've got, but I don't want people to meet our opinions. I want people to meet Jesus. And people are more likely to meet Jesus if they don't meet a big opinion. They just meet some experience, to say good, bad, or undecided. And it's usually a mixed bag of all of those for me. So how do you deal with ambiguity in your life? Are you like, it's ambiguous again? Or do you just say, like, that's Tuesday, that's where I live? It was ambiguous Monday. It's likely to be ambiguous Thursday. And then there's a long weekend of ambiguity ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that's honestly, the music has been my wrestling through all of those things that are, ambiguous, and all of those things that are me pondering and wrestling kind of to the ground. What do I make of this? What I do with this? And I'm a fixer, so I want the answer. I want to fix it. I see something broken. But thankfully, and it's evidenced in the fact that 35 years later, I'm still writing songs, is good evidence that I can't fix it. Because if I could have, I probably would have quit writing. So, okay, good. I got it figured out. I got it fixed. The songs are that wrestling process. And even this new album, really interesting for me. And you and I have shared a little bit about this journey in a real kind of vulnerable way. And me just saying, Bob, here I am 35 years in this journey. I've written a lot of music and shared a lot of my faith journey with people. And one of the blessings of having success beyond anything I ever imagined is that so many people will come and say, especially if you offer a new song, here's a new thought, here's something I have to say. when you've had success, and especially with music, it marks people's life and their journey, and they're like mile markers on their faith journey. People so often, even as I play them a new song, will go, "Hey, that's really nice, but gosh, you know what? The song that really means so much to me is XYZ. Gosh, you'll never have another album like The Great Adventure, Speechless, fill in the blank. There's never going to be another song like, More to This Life. Oh man, I Will Be Here. Had that sung at our wedding." And what they're doing is they're blessing you and giving you a great compliment. But what the insecure artist in you hears is, so you really didn't need to bother wasting your time writing that new song, or really my time listening to it, because all I really want to hear is that other song. And it's an interesting thing that happens in the life of a creator, to the point where a Billy Joel famously a few years ago says in an interview, "I won't be writing and recording any more new music." And I think there was a collective gasp, among the music world, going, "What? Billy Joel, the great writer, the great poet, the great artist that he is not going to give us any more new music." But I understand it, because I think a part of him is saying, because I just can't bear those, "Man, that's great, but gosh, could you just play Piano Man again? Because that's the song that I really want to hear from Billy Joel." And so I had to wrestle a lot of those voices, a lot of those demons out of my house. I had to exercise them out to say, I really feel like after a global pandemic, after all of the things that have happened in my life, in the world around me, it's really stirred some things very deep in me as a poet, as an artist, as just a father, as a husband, as a man on a journey of faith, wrestling with this and what I'm seeing happening in the world around me. And so I finally gave myself permission to just sit with a guitar or at the piano and just write the songs, blocking out all those voices, kept trying to make their way in to say, "Yeah, but is it going to be as good as? Is it going to be, as received as? Or how are they going to, what are the reviewers going to say about this compared to?" And just say, I want to steward this place I'm at right now. I heard recently Bruce Springsteen, who's really interesting for me. I've kind of become a fan as of late. His music has really inspired me in these last few years. And I think it's because here's a guy who's 72 years old. He's got even more years on both you and me. And yet he still is, I think, writing some of the best music he's ever written and offering some of the best art. And he's at a place in his life writing songs he couldn't have written 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's what I began to realize. These are things I wouldn't have even said. I wouldn't have had the language or the experience, to your point, to have said these things that 5 years ago. So I think that's important enough for me to push all those voices out, write these songs, make this record. And I'm really thankful I did. And thankfully, I'm already hearing from some people saying, "We're really glad you did too, because we really like these songs."
Yeah, well, I'm one of them. There's a difference between people kind of screenshotting something that mattered to them because it was the wedding, it was a loss, it was a something, and they associate a song, a book, whatever to that. And so they're not, I have to tell myself, no disrespect intended. Or if somebody says to me, "I remember reading your book in junior high school, you were really good."
Yeah.
And they've just graduated with their PhD in something and be like, "Oh, wow."
Yes.
But what if we think about it this other way? I feel like with Still, we get a new installment, like kind of an updated version of "What are you thinking?" I just love this idea when I get insecure, which is often, and people don't think of guys like you and I as insecure because we cover up our insecurities by being funny and being self-deprecating and changing enthusiasm and all that. And they don't realize this is Bob. This is Stephen B just super insecure right now. So what I do is I fill the room with all kinds of things. Feel like I'm the guy just want to have like sparklers and all that going on in a weird way to take attention away from me, because I feel the attention is on me and I want the attention's off of me and onto Jesus. And so I feel like I need to do another thing or another. So sometimes when you're trying to figure out who you are, a practice has been super helpful for me is to take away what I'm known for, and whatever's left is who I am. So take away Bob, the trial lawyer, take away lawyer Bob. What's left? Okay,
Yeah.
Bob, the husband, Bob, the guy that knows how to write books. Take away Bob, the balloon boy. Take away like the book writing Bob. What's left? That's who I am. And I feel like with Instill, we have this opportunity to take away all the previous screenshots that you've done of your work and who you are. People have a you know, an awareness of something in your life, or a big moment or a hard moment or a beautiful moment, and to take away all those screenshots and then just get current. It's like a catching up with a friend who you've actually done some time with. Like some people have done decades with you. I have. And I feel like Still is an updated version of that. When you think of yourself 5 years from now, tell me about that guy. I know Show Hope is going to be, still has been super important. Will you tell our friends a little bit about Show Hope? That's just such a masterful and beautiful thing.
It is. It's been an amazing part of an amazing journey that I've been on. We started that journey, 24 years ago, probably even a little before that, because those who don't know the story, started with our oldest daughter, Emily, when she was about 11 years old. She's now 36. So you can do the math on that. It was a little while ago, and she went on a trip to Haiti with her mom, spent time with kids that didn't have a family, came home at 11, said, "Mom, Dad, I know I got two little brothers, but we should adopt some children that need a family and need a home, because, you know, there are children in the world without families. That's just not how it should be." And those who know our story say, you know, have heard me say, we told her that's a wonderful thing she should do. And she grew up and had her own home and her own house, because we did not have, we'd already gotten rid of the high chairs and the car seats and all the baby things, and all this was not going to happen. But God did an amazing thing in our family. 23 years ago, we adopted Shohana Hope from China. And then shortly after, Stevie Joy came to be our daughter. And then a little girl named Maria that I met on a trip to China, who needed a family. And so that's how we became the parents of 6 children, 3 natural and 3 supernatural, as my wife likes to say. And an amazing, amazing journey. But not only would God change our hearts and our lives and the DNA of our family, but through that experience, we got this, our eyes and hearts open to the reality of millions of children in the world without families. And the fact that there was this incredible desire in the hearts of many faith-filled people, followers of Jesus, who said, we really want to adopt a child someday. We just can't afford it right now. And that just sort of stunned my wife and I, especially my wife, Mary Beth, who, after having walked through the orphanage that Shoei came from and having this crash course on how many children all over the world, 500,000 right here in the U.S. in foster care, and millions of children around the world without families. When you have a family standing in front of you saying, someday we hope and pray we could adopt a child, we just can't afford it right now. Well, my wife just couldn't stand the thought of that. So she started writing checks basically to help these families in their adoption journey that needed help. And out of that, we saw a tremendous, really, opportunity, an invitation into the heart of God to join these families in their journey. And so we started Show Hope to be a way for others who could say, hey, we maybe aren't called to adopt a child, but we sure are invited. James 1:27, true religion, care for orphans and widows. We're invited into this at some level. And this is an amazing way that we can be a part of God's heart for children that need families, is to support those families in the journey that they can't otherwise, a journey they can't make without someone supporting them, helping build a bridge for them to get to that child. So that's how Show Hope started, with a dream of helping 100 families. That was our big, it's the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, you know? And we, by God's,
you passed that.
We're somewhere north of 8,000 families now that we've been able to help, children from 63 countries that have been adopted into Christian families. And beyond that, the tree, our little tree is our Show Hope icon. It's a tree of hope. You know, that a heart deferred makes the heart sick. A hope deferred, but a tree, what is it? The hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. So there's this tree of life from the longings fulfilled. So we've grown into helping families on the ongoing care of children they've adopted that may come home with some real invisible baggage from trauma and institutionalized and being abandoned and all of the things that can come with that, as well as physical needs, medical needs that may be ongoing for adopted families. So we've been blessed in so many ways to just partner with families in this miracle of adoption. And through the work of Show Hope, now almost 23 years later, actually we'll celebrate officially 20 years this coming year of the work of Show Hope. And boy, it's been such a blessing for us. And every concert I do, I get to meet families who have been touched by the work of Show Hope. And it's just another reminder of God's goodness. So,
and I want that invitation in the mail when your 20th comes up.
Yes, yes, you better be there.
People that have encountered your music, that are listening to your new music, they're wondering who you're becoming. They're wondering who I'm becoming. And I think a great way to get a feel for that is to just cast your eyes like 5 years forward. So I'm 64 in February.
Yeah.
So at 69, I've got a grandpa. I'm grandpa 3 right now. I imagine that'll be a little bit bigger number.
Yes.
I'm trying to stay home a little bit more. But like you, I'm out and about. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And so when somebody invites me on something or says, let's do it, I'm like, my first instinct is yes. Tell me about 5 years from now for you. Who's Stephen Curtis Chapman in 5 years?
Well, we've talked a bit about this. I know you and I off the record, and you know that it is a desire of mine and my wife, my bride, Mary Beth, 38 years now that we've share this journey. And a lot of those years, if you add up all the days and hours, have been spent apart with me on the road and touring and doing all the amazing things that I've had the privilege of doing. I think the next 5 years, it would be that I am staying home a little bit more. And I've been sort of progressively doing that over the years. I still love, I not only still, and that word is so packed with so much meaning for me, more than just an album title, but I still am inspired to, and in many ways, still more than ever before, want to share, our journey with people and encourage people in their journey to not lose heart. It's the reason why my current radio song is called Don't Lose Heart. I just feel like it's been such a season of loss. So I want to encourage people. Don't lose the one thing, that we must not lose, our heart in this journey, because that's something that I am learning even for myself. What does it look like to not only not lose heart, but even to grow a stronger heart in the next 5 years? But yeah, it's to be with my family. I'm a grandpa 6 times, pops 6 times now, and I don't think we're done either. So I love that. We had our granddaughter last night over, Faye, my son Will's little girl, and we watched Snow Buddies and Santa Buddies, 2 dog movies. Thank you, Disney. And so we watched those together, had some popcorn, and just a sweet night. And she fell asleep right beside me in about 3/4 of the way through Snow Buddies or Santa Buddies. And but just those moments. Those are the sweet moments that you get now at this point in your journey. So I want to enjoy more and more of those moments, but I truly am. It's an interesting thing. The more of those moments, the more I love playing music, just sitting down with my guitar. I think for many years, because the drive was there was such intensity, it was big tours and lots of trucks and buses and expectations and all of that. And to be in a season now and for the next 5 years, to be able to pick up the guitar and just love and enjoy the sound of it and sing a new song or a song that I know represents a journey for a lot of people. I have never enjoyed that more. I've never just felt more joy in the gift of music. It's interesting. I've sort of rediscovered that in a lot of ways for myself. So I love that I still feel that.
I'm thinking about that idea of returning to your first love. like returning to Mary Beth, returning to her music. And
Yeah.
for me, it's meant slowing down just a little bit, not like being involved in less things. I got, like you, just lots of things that hold my interest, everything, air, like it's all fine, like really interesting. But to come up with some strategies, I bought an old 71 Volkswagen, and this thing goes 40 miles an hour downhill with a breeze behind you. And it just goes slow. It doesn't have fast in it. And I think just to come up with a couple strategies, just to slow it down a little bit and to be more and more present while it's still active and involved in a bunch of stuff locally and internationally, but to just slow it down. And I think that what I'm hoping for you, for myself, maybe for somebody listening, is that we can find those things that'll have shelf life. I feel like still is pointing towards some things that have shelf life. Show hope, or what has shelf life. Find things that really will pass this test of time that'll actually matter for longer than this week or this year. And I'm trying to be a little bit more picky about not will it work, but will it last? And maybe I want to just like kind of end at that place. Just not only thank you for a lasting friendship, things that you can measure the impact that you've had on people that's lasted for decades and decades, but also to continue to do the brave work of creating and the brave work of being present for your family. Tell me one last thing. If people want to connect with you, I know you're out on a tour in the spring.
Yes.
Tell us about when is that? And then people can look online and figure out where you're going to be, because being in a small setting with a storyteller and an honest guy is different than being in an arena or with a bunch of strangers. Well, where can people catch up to you in the spring?
Yes, sir. StephenCurtisChapman.com is the website to go to get all that information. Of course, all the social media things that I'm still trying to catch up to, Instagram and Facebook and all those usually have all of that information too. But the most direct place I can tell them is to go to StephenCurtisChapman.com and check out the touring that will start around March. That'll be the next thing. And gosh, that's, I love the question, will it work? Not will it work, but will it last? And gosh, you have, again, your friendship has meant so much to me. I love the opportunity to say that publicly. I say it to you a lot privately, but for all those who listen and love you so much and appreciate, you from your words on a page or your voice through a speaker in their car or wherever, to get to know the heart of the man behind all of that. It's just as good, even better than the words. So thank you for that, brother. And thanks for your friendship.
Well, love you. And greet the family for me. A special high five to Mary Beth. And I'm just so grateful for your time. So you guys, you've been listening to Dream Big. And boy, I hope something that Stephen said will resonate and that you wouldn't just agree with him, but you'd go do something, because Jesus never asked people to agree with him. He just said, let's go do something with it. So if there's something you found yourself nodding your head about the plight of the orphan, just go do something about it, whatever it is. And the crazy part about all this is Jesus doesn't need your help. I ask him every day, do you need my help? He's like, nope. But we get an opportunity to enter into this and find out more about what we actually believe to be true. Thanks, buddy. I love you. And I hope it was a great week for everybody listening in.